My girlfriend got wasted at the birthday party I had paid for in full. She raised her glass and announced, "Here's to my boyfriend. He pays all my bills, buys me anything I want, follows me around like a pathetic dog, and actually believes I love him." Her friends burst out laughing, and one of them added, "At least he's good for something." When I stood up to leave, she smirked and said, "Don't be so dramatic. We both know you'll come crawling back tomorrow." I'm a 36-year-old man. I was with Morgan, 32, for almost 4 years. Well, I should say I was with her. A little background on me. I grew up in a middle-class family in Ohio. My dad was a mechanic and taught me the value of working with your hands. My mom worked in hospital administration and showed me what true dedication to a job was. I learned early on that nothing in life comes easy. After high school, I went to community college and then a state university to study construction management. After graduation, I moved to Denver with an old Honda and about $600 to my name. Today, I run my own construction company. Initially, it was just me and my buddy Kyle doing small renovations out of the back of my truck. Now, we have 17 employees and contracts booked 8 months in advance. We specialize in high-end kitchen remodels and custom outdoor spaces, decks, pergolas, outdoor kitchens, that kind of thing. There's nothing glamorous about what I do. I still show up on job sites with dirt under my nails and my shirt soaked in sweat, dealing with permit offices and supply chain issues. But after 9 years of working my butt off, I finally bought a decent house last year, a 3-bedroom ranch on a quarter-acre lot that I'm slowly renovating. I have real savings in the bank and can take a day off without panicking about bills. Morgan worked in pharmaceutical sales. Always perfect. Designer clothes, hair redone weekly at a salon where they served champagne, nails perpetually flawless. The kind of woman who would spend $400 on face cream without blinking. When we met at a charity auction a friend had dragged me to, I thought she was way out of my league. I was there because I had donated a custom outdoor renovation package, wearing the only suit I owned at the time, navy blue and a little too wide in the shoulders. She was wearing a silver dress that probably cost more than my mortgage payment and looked like she had stepped right out of a magazine. She approached me while I was standing awkwardly by the bar, introduced herself, and seemed genuinely impressed when I told her what I did for a living. Looking back, I bet she was already calculating my income potential while I was fumbling through our conversation. She gave me her number before she left, and I almost convinced myself it was fake until she answered my text the next day. The first few months were incredible. Our intimacy was exceptional. She seemed interested in my work. She even came to a job site once. She complained about her shoes getting dirty, but she still came. After 6 months, she had a drawer at my place. After a year, she was spending 5 nights a week at the house, though she insisted on keeping her downtown apartment. An apartment I later discovered I was practically funding myself through loans that were never repaid. In retrospect, the red flags were practically screaming at me. She would lose her bank card at least once a month and need to borrow money. Her car always needed an urgent repair right when a new luxury collection was released. She'd make little jabs like, "You can look elegant when you make an effort," or that she was upgrading my lifestyle. She'd mysteriously get migraines whenever it was her turn to pay for dinner. But the physical connection was great, she was gorgeous, and honestly, I was just happy that a woman like her wanted to be with a guy like me. What an idiot. It wasn't all bad, at least not at first. She could be thoughtful sometimes. She remembered things I liked. She got me a beautiful watch for my birthday, though I later found out she bought it with my own credit card. She would brag about me to her friends, calling me her sexy construction man. For a guy who grew up feeling pretty average, that kind of attention from a beautiful woman was intoxicating. But over time, things changed. The thoughtful moments became rarer, the requests for money more frequent. The comments about my job went from playful teasing to barely concealed contempt. Like a frog in slowly heating water, I didn't realize I was being cooked until it was almost too late. Morgan's 30th birthday was 2 weeks ago. I spent a whole month planning the party. I booked a private room at Aspen Grove, a chic, farm-to-table restaurant where appetizers cost $30. I could have gone to my friend Gus's restaurant, whose kitchen I'd renovated and who would have given us a deal, but Morgan always said it was too casual for important events. I invited 15 of her friends, ordered a custom cake with edible gold and something called a mirror glaze that alone cost $250. All in, the party cost me about $4,800. And I didn't even blink when I signed the check because that's what you do when you love someone, right? The day of her birthday, I even left the job site early to make sure everything was perfect. The restaurant had set up the room exactly as I'd requested. Flowers on every table, her favorite peonies, which cost $200 from a luxury florist. A photo display I had put together tracing our 4 years together. Gift bags for all the guests containing expensive candles and bath products Morgan had once mentioned she liked. I even had her favorite dessert wines served with the cake and managed to find a rare bottle she had been talking about for months. The gift I'd bought her was in my pocket, a pair of sapphire earrings that matched her eyes, wrapped in a box from that jewelry store she always stopped in front of at the mall. Dinner started off great. The food was good, though overpriced, $60 for a chicken dish that wasn't even as good as what I could make at home. The drinks were flowing. Everyone seemed to be having a good time. Morgan was wearing a red dress that probably cost more than my first car. She was drinking a sophisticated sparkling water because she said sugar and cocktails made her bloat. She wasn't even drunk, which makes what happened next even worse. She was perfectly lucid. She sat at the head of the table like the queen she thought she was. I was to her right. Her work colleagues were there, those women with identical blonde highlights and shrill laughs. Her CrossFit coach, Trey, whom I always thought had a thing for her, was also there, looking awkward in real clothes instead of his workout gear. Her sister, Heather, was present, along with a few college friends, the whole usual crew. The time for speeches arrived. Her friend Paige started, telling a story about their trip to Cabo, a trip I had paid for but wasn't even invited to. Then it was my turn. I kept it simple. I told her I loved her, that I was proud of what she had accomplished this year, and that I couldn't wait to build our future together. Everyone raised their glasses with the appropriate appreciative reactions. Then Morgan stood up, her water glass in hand. I thought she was going to thank everyone for coming. Instead, she scanned the room with a strange smile, placed her hand on my shoulder, digging her nails slightly into my skin. Then she said, loud enough for the whole table to hear, "Here's to my boyfriend, Mitchell." She paused, looking around to make sure she had the room's full attention, then added, "He pays for everything for me, buys me anything I want, and follows me around like a little puppy. And get this, he still actually thinks I'm in love with him." The table fell completely silent for a few seconds. Then her friends, those plastic surgery nightmares she called her girls, started to laugh. Not everyone. Her sister looked like she wanted to disappear under the table, and my friend Nate, whom I had invited, just stared at his plate. But enough people were laughing to make me feel like I couldn't breathe. The server refilling water glasses froze, clearly not knowing what to do. I saw him exchange a wide-eyed glance with another server. I must have had a particular look on my face because Morgan rolled her eyes and said, "Seriously, it's just a joke. Lighten up." But there was no hint of humor in her voice, only contempt. Pure contempt for the man who had just spent nearly $5,000 to celebrate her birthday. I calmly placed my napkin on the table and stood up. I didn't say anything. I just grabbed my jacket from the back of my chair. The earrings felt like they were burning a hole in my pocket. "Where do you think you're going?" she snapped, annoyed, as if I were the one ruining her special night. "It's over," I replied simply. I wasn't going to make a scene in public. That's not my style. That's when she said, loud enough for the servers against the wall to hear, "Stop being so sensitive. We both know you'll come crawling back tomorrow. You always do." She said it with such certainty, such disdain, as if I were a trained dog that always came back, no matter how she treated me. And in that moment, something inside me broke. Or maybe something finally healed. I don't know. I just looked at her for a long moment, taking in every detail of her face. The face I had woken up next to for 4 years. The face I thought I would see for the rest of my life. And I realized I didn't recognize it anymore. Or maybe, for the first time, I was seeing it clearly. I didn't slam the door, I didn't yell, I didn't cause a scene. I just walked out, handed my ticket to the valet, and waited for my truck in silence. The valet seemed to sense something was wrong and didn't try to make small talk. I tipped him $20 and drove home with no music, no calls, just the sound of my thoughts finally cutting through years of lies. When I got home, to the house I had spent all my weekends for months working on, with the deck I had built with my own hands and the kitchen I had renovated myself, I made a coffee and sat outside, looking at the stars. Suddenly, for years of memories looked completely different. All those times she mocked my calloused hands in front of her friends. The way she'd ask me not to talk about my work in front of certain people because they wouldn't understand. The way she'd roll her eyes whenever I talked about a project I was proud of. That time I overheard her on the phone telling a friend, "He's not exactly intellectually stimulating, but he's useful to have around." Or when she said she needed new outfits for every event because people noticed that kind of thing. Mitchell. Those girls' trips that always seemed to come up right when I was talking about saving for something important. Those mysterious work conferences she never had any materials from. The way she always kept her phone face down in front of me. That male colleague whose name came up often in conversation and then disappeared as soon as I asked questions. I wasn't completely blind. Deep down, I knew she loved my bank card more than me. But I think a part of me believed that one day she would finally see past the money and notice the man who worked 60 hours a week to give her everything. What a joke. My phone started blowing up with notifications less than an hour later. The messages from Morgan shifted from anger, way to humiliate me on my birthday, to defensiveness. It was obviously a joke. Everyone was laughing. And finally to fake sobs. "Babe, please, I'm sorry, come back." I scrolled through the messages with a strange detachment, as if I were reading someone else's drama. I turned off the notifications, but I didn't block her. Something told me I needed to keep a record in case things got ugly. I didn't sleep that night. I replayed not only the birthday disaster, but also 100 little moments that suddenly, finally, made perfect sense. Like the lunch receipts for 2 on days she said she was eating alone, or the way she'd get annoyed when I surprised her by stopping by her work, or that men's watch I found in her car that she claimed belonged to a cousin I'd never heard of before or since. On Sunday morning, I woke up after maybe 3 hours of sleep, but felt like a 200-pound weight had been lifted off my chest. And with total clarity, I knew exactly what I had to do. Before packing up Morgan's things, I decided to do something I probably should have done years earlier, a thorough investigation. If she was going to publicly humiliate me, then I wanted to know exactly what I had been dealing with. First, I opened all our joint financial accounts and started downloading the statements for the past 2 years. I'm not usually a vindictive person, but something about the calculated coldness in her voice when she mocked me in front of everyone made me realize this wasn't just about money. It was about power. I created a spreadsheet tracking every emergency loan, every suspicious purchase, every unexplained withdrawal. The pattern was so obvious it made me sick. Over $67,000 in the last year alone, luxury clothes, spa treatments, questionable business dinners, and weekend getaways I was never invited to. Almost every major expense miraculously occurred right after I talked about an investment for my business or an important project. She was methodically siphoning off resources meant for my company's growth. Then I checked the black card statements. There were regular charges from downtown hotels. On the same nights, she claimed to be working late. The name of the same restaurant appeared over and over, with bills for 2 people when she was supposed to be having lunch with the girls. I also found recurring payments for an apartment rental service I had never heard of. Against my better judgment, I decided to go to her apartment with my key. I told myself it was to gather evidence, but a part of me needed to see the truth with my own eyes. The doorman greeted me by my first name. "Miss Morgan isn't here, Mr. Mitchell. She left early this morning with a gentleman. They said they were going for brunch." "That's fine," I replied, feeling my jaw clench. "I'm just dropping something off." Inside the apartment, I found exactly what I had feared. Men's clothes that weren't mine in the closet, men's toiletries I didn't recognize in the bathroom, pictures of her with another guy at what looked like a beach resort. The photos were dated from the exact week she had told me she was at a crucial work conference in Chicago. I photographed every single item without touching anything, not out of respect for her privacy. That ship had long since sailed, but because I needed irrefutable proof. The final blow was a journal I found in her nightstand. Normally, I would never read someone's private thoughts, but my name on an open page caught my eye. "Mitchell's finally talking about expanding the business. Time to push for the Aspen trip next month. He won't notice the money if I time it right." I photographed several pages where she literally documented her manipulation strategies. Pretend to be interested in the kitchen project equals new Gucci bag. Act impressed by a client meeting equals spa weekend. From the very beginning, she had been playing me like a game. On my way out, I stopped at the front desk. Quick question. I'm helping Morgan with something. How often does she use the Airbnb listing for her apartment? The doorman looked uncomfortable. I'm not supposed to discuss residence activities, sir. I nodded understandingly before adding in a casual tone, no problem. Her sister Heather told me about it. I was just going to help her update the photos for the listing. His face immediately relaxed. Oh, if you're helping her, that's different. It's pretty popular. Usually booked 3 or 4 nights a week. The cleaning service comes every morning around 10. I thanked him and left as all the pieces of the puzzle finally clicked into place. She was renting out the apartment I was paying for, pocketing the money, and living at my place for free. The perfect scam. I spent the rest of Sunday gathering all of Morgan's belongings scattered throughout my house. Clothes, makeup, jewelry, the Peloton bike she had used twice, the 6 pairs of luxury shoes in my closet, all the overpriced creams and hair products in my bathroom. I packed everything meticulously into boxes, each one labeled with almost clinical precision. Clothes, bathroom, jewelry, electronics, shoes. It took me about 4 hours to find everything. It was impressive how much of her stuff had invaded my space, even while she maintained her own apartment as a profitable side hustle. I placed her key on top of the jewelry box and loaded all the boxes into my truck. During a final sweep of the house, I came across the birthday card I had bought her and never given her. Inside was a handwritten note about how much I loved her, along with a gift certificate for a weekend in Santa Fe I had planned for us. I tore it all up and threw it in the trash, feeling nothing but immense relief. On Monday morning, I didn't go to her apartment as I had originally planned. Instead, I went to my lawyer's office with all the evidence I had gathered. Arthur had been handling the legal side of my business for years and had become a friend over time. Quite a situation, he said, looking over the photos and financial documents. What exactly do you want to do now, Mitchell? I want to protect myself, my business, and my assets, I replied. And I want to make sure she can't twist this story to make me look like the bad guy. Arthur nodded. Smart. First, we officially document everything. Then, we create a clean and legally solid break. No gray areas she can exploit. We spent 3 hours drafting documents, an official termination of all financial support, a certified letter to the credit card companies to remove her as an authorized user, official notifications regarding joint accounts and services. We even prepared a cease and desist letter regarding any potential defamation. And the apartment? I asked. I've been paying her rent for almost 3 years. Arthur thought for a moment. The illegal subletting gives us leverage. If the landlord finds out, she could face eviction and a lawsuit for breach of lease. I don't want to sink to her level, I said. This isn't about revenge, Mitchell. It's about protection. She's shown she's willing to use anything against you. That afternoon, I called the property management company directly. I make the payments for Unit 1506 for a resident named Morgan Davis, I explained. I wish to terminate this arrangement immediately. I understand, sir. We'll need written notification. And I also need to inform you of a potential lease violation. The apartment has been listed on Airbnb for some time, which I believe violates the terms of the lease agreement. The silence on the other end of the line was telling. That is indeed a serious violation, sir. We will need to investigate immediately. I have evidence to provide, I offered. Screenshots of the listing, booking confirmations sent to her email address that was accidentally linked to my account, and statements showing the income from the platform. By Tuesday morning, everything was ready. I went to her building with the boxes and a very specific plan. The same doorman greeted me as I walked in. Big delivery today, Mr. Mitchell. The last one, actually, I replied. He raised an eyebrow, but made no comment. I used the key one last time and brought all the boxes up, arranging them neatly in her living room. On top, I placed an envelope containing copies of all the evidence I had gathered, financial statements highlighting her unauthorized purchases, photos of her apartment being used as an Airbnb, pictures of her with the other man, pages from her journal detailing her manipulation tactics, and an official letter from my lawyer terminating all financial obligations. My note was simple. I won't be coming back crawling. Everything is documented. Your landlord knows about the Airbnb. The black card is canceled. Any attempt to contact me or harm my reputation will result in all of this evidence being shared with everyone who matters. Your choice. I left my key on top of the note and walked out. Just riding down that elevator, I felt like I had lost 40 pounds. The doorman gave me a small nod as I left. There was something in his eyes that looked like respect. On Tuesday night, all hell broke loose. Morgan must have come home and found the boxes and documents because she called me 27 times in 2 hours. I didn't answer. Then the texts started coming, shifting from rage, "You had no right to go through my things," to panic, "Please don't show those pictures to anyone," and finally to desperate bargaining. "I can explain everything. Just give me a chance." I forwarded every message to my lawyer without replying. His advice was simple: total silence. Let her panic. Let her wonder what you might do next. A true psychological game. On Wednesday morning, I went to work as usual. I checked on the job sites, ordered materials, and went over plans with clients. Then I told my business partner, Kyle, the whole story. He just nodded and said, "Damn, it's about time, man. That woman was draining you dry." No judgment, no excessive pity, just the truth. That's why I love working with guys who build things for a living. No BS. By Wednesday afternoon, Morgan was going completely wild on social media. She started posting things like, "Some men just can't handle a strong woman," and ruining a 4-year relationship over one joke shows who the real child is. Her friends commented with things like, "You deserve better, queen," and "Toxic men can't stand a successful woman." I just kept taking screenshots without ever responding. Every post was another nail in her credibility's coffin, in case this whole thing went further. She even posted a crying selfie with the caption, "When you give someone your all, and they throw it all away for nothing." The comments were filled with people asking what happened, and she vaguely replied with stories about men who can't handle being put in their place. I almost replied publicly with the truth, but something stopped me. Getting into a social media war wouldn't solve anything. The people who mattered already knew the truth. The rest could believe what they wanted. That evening, I got a call from an unknown number. Against my better judgment, I answered. "Mitchell," a male voice asked. "Who is this?" "My name is Brendan. I think we need to talk about Morgan." My stomach tightened. "I'm listening." Well, I don't even know what to call it. We've been seeing each other for about 8 months. She told me you two were basically separated, just living together for financial reasons until the lease was up." I burst out laughing. "There is no lease. I own my house. And we were very much together until her birthday party 2 days ago." Silence on the other end. Then, she told me that necklace was from her parents. "What necklace?" "The sapphire one." She said it was a family heirloom. The necklace I had given her for Christmas. Almost $3,000. "Look," Brendan continued, "I'm not calling to cause trouble. I found your number in her phone while she was in the shower. Things weren't adding up, and after what happened yesterday with her landlord calling about the Airbnb violations, I needed to know if I was being played, too." "Welcome to the club," I replied. "How did you two meet?" "At a pharmaceutical conference in Phoenix. I work for a rival company. She approached me at the hotel bar, just like she approached you at that charity auction. A classic predator looking for new prey." "So what are you going to do now?" I asked. He sighed. "I have screenshots of her telling me you were practically separated. I figured they might be useful for your records." I gave him my email address. 10 minutes later, I received an entire folder of conversations proving she was actively pursuing a relationship with Brendan while living in my house and spending my money. She told him I had a difficult personality, claiming I controlled her finances when, in reality, I was fully funding her lifestyle. On Thursday morning, Morgan showed up at my office. Surprisingly put together. Perfect makeup, styled hair, a dress that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. The receptionist called to warn me. "Do you want me to tell her you're in a meeting?" "No," I replied. "Send her in. But first, call Kyle and ask him to come to my office, and have security on standby just in case." Kyle arrived first, giving me a questioning look. I quickly explained the situation. "You want me to stay?" "Just for the first few minutes. As a witness." When Morgan walked in, her face fell slightly upon seeing Kyle there. She clearly expected to find me alone. "We need to talk." "In private," she said in a soft voice, but her eyes were like ice. "Kyle is my business partner. Anything you have to say can be said in front of him." She shot him a glare before quickly composing herself and sitting across from my desk. Mitchell, baby, this is all a terrible misunderstanding. That joke at my birthday, I was nervous, and it came out wrong. You know I love you. I didn't respond. I just watched her. The Airbnb thing, I was just trying to contribute financially. I should have told you, but I was saving up to surprise you with a vacation. Still not a word from me. And the pictures with Brendan, he's just a colleague. Nothing happened. You're the only one I want. Finally, I spoke. Are you done? She blinked, clearly thrown off by my calmness. I just want us to fix things. I'll pay you back for everything, I promise. I pulled out a folder and slid it across the desk to her. Inside are all the text messages between you and Brendan for the last 8 months. He contacted me yesterday. Apparently, you were telling him we were practically separated and only living together for financial reasons. The color drained from her face. There's also a statement of all the money you've taken from me over the last 2 years. Over $112,000 in total. You'll also find an official letter from my lawyer stating that any further contact will be considered harassment. And finally, a copy of the report your landlord forwarded to the rental board about your illegal subletting activities. Her face twisted with rage. You son of a bitch. You think you can just throw me away like trash? I made you. Before me, you were just some pathetic little contractor with dirt under his nails. I gave you class. I gave you status. Kyle shifted nervously behind me. I remained perfectly calm. Is that all? I asked. This isn't over, she spat, standing up. I know things about your business. Permits that weren't filed correctly. Off-the-books jobs you didn't declare. I can ruin your life with one phone call. And there it was, the final confirmation of who she really was. I smiled, which seemed to unnerve her even more than if I had gotten angry. Every permit for every job has been properly filed. Every dollar is accounted for. My business was successful before you, and it will continue to be successful after you. But thanks for adding attempted blackmail to the list of reasons why this is over. I stood up. Kyle will see you out. Any future communication will have to go through my lawyer. As Kyle escorted her to the door, she turned back, tears suddenly streaming down her face. Please, Mitchell. I'm sorry. I really do love you. I was just scared to admit how much I needed you. For a brief moment, I felt a flicker of doubt. Then I heard her voice again from the birthday dinner. You'll come crawling back tomorrow. You always do. Goodbye, Morgan, I said, turning back to my computer. It's been 3 weeks since the birthday disaster, and things have found a new kind of normal. My lawyer called to inform me that Morgan has been officially evicted from her apartment for breach of lease. The property management company is also suing her for the unauthorized Airbnb income, about $42,000 over the past year. Money that came directly from the rent I was paying. Last week, I got a call from Heather, Morgan's sister. We had always gotten along well, and she was one of the few people who looked horrified by what Morgan said at the dinner. Are you holding up? She asked when I picked up. I'm trying, I replied. What's up? It turns out Morgan's job in pharmaceutical sales wasn't going so well. She'd been on thin ice for months, not because of poor performance as she claimed, but because of unprofessional conduct with clients and inappropriate relationships with colleagues. Plural. The days she missed after our breakup, combined with an official complaint filed by Brendan's company about their undeclared personal relationship, which violated industry ethics rules, led to her being fired without severance. She's telling everyone you got her fired, Heather said, her voice weary. She claims you called her boss and made up lies about her. I know it's not true, but I thought you should know. Thanks for the heads up, I replied. And you? How are you handling all this? There was a pause on the line. Can I tell you something in confidence? Heather asked. Of course. Honestly, I'm relieved you're gone, she said softly. She's been using you for years, and we all saw it. Mom and Dad tried to talk to her a few times, but she would just throw a fit. You're a good person, Mitchell. You deserved better than how she treated you. That conversation was validation from the last person I expected it from. But the icing on the cake came yesterday. Remember that black card she used? After I canceled it, she apparently tried to use it at Neiman Marcus for a $4,700 shopping spree. When the card was declined, she made such a scene that security had to be called. According to a friend who works there, she was screaming, "This card can't be canceled. My boyfriend is too pathetic to stand up to me." And all those friends who laughed at her joke and called me toxic? Not a single one offered her a place to stay. Not one. I guess people who gather around materialism aren't very strong on real friendship once someone can't pay the bill. The real karma, though, came last week. I was at a client's house discussing a huge renovation project, easily a $200,000 job. As I was presenting the plans, the wife kept looking at me strangely. Finally, she said, "I'm sorry, but you look so familiar. Have we met before?" "I don't think so," I replied, continuing my presentation. At the end of the meeting, as they were signing the contract, she suddenly exclaimed, "Wait, you're Morgan's boyfriend." We were at her birthday party. My stomach knotted. She was one of the women who had laughed at Morgan's joke. I braced myself for an awkward moment, maybe even for them to cancel the contract. But instead, she looked me right in the eye and said, "What she did to you was absolutely horrible." My husband and I were shocked. We only laughed because we were extremely uncomfortable and didn't know how to react. "I've wanted to apologize to you since that night." I was speechless. Her husband nodded. "We've known Morgan for years through mutual friends. That night was the last straw for us, too. Nobody deserves to be treated like that." Not only did they sign the contract, but they've also recommended me to 3 of their friends for similar projects. Sometimes, karma works in unexpected ways. The true final confrontation happened this morning. I was at a new job site, a complete gut renovation for a tech executive, when Morgan showed up. She looked rough. Minimal makeup, hair thrown up hastily, wearing jeans and a simple blouse. For her, this was practically a homeless outfit. "Mitchell, please," she said, genuinely crying this time. "I've lost everything. My job, my apartment, my friends. I have nowhere to go. My parents won't even let me come home. They say it's tough love or some crap like that." I continued inspecting the framework without even looking at her. "Please, Mitchell, I'll do anything. I've learned my lesson. I'll get a real job. I'll contribute. I'll be better. Don't leave me like this." Finally, I looked at her. For a second, I almost felt sorry for her. Then I heard her voice again. "You'll come crawling back." "Looks like you're the one crawling now," I said calmly. "Doesn't feel very good, does it?" I turned to leave, then stopped. "Oh, and Morgan, that diamond tennis bracelet you lost last year, the one you made me buy a replacement for? I found the original in your makeup bag when I was packing, along with the stolen earrings from Christmas the year before and that missing Cartier watch. I wonder how many other things you lost just so I'd buy them a second time." The look on her face told me everything. It wasn't just a few items, it was a pattern. "You know the saddest part?" I continued. "If you had loved me even half as much as you loved my money, I still would have given you the world. You didn't have to lie or manipulate, but you were incapable of seeing anything but dollar signs instead of the person right in front of you." As I walked away, Miguel, my site foreman, came up to me. "Boss, you want me to call security?" I shook my head. "No need. She's leaving." And she did, sobbing all the way to her car. That car that still had that weird noise in the engine. Funny how that problem always seemed to pop up when she wanted something expensive. Miguel just shook his head. "My ex was like that. Users can smell a good man a mile away." "How did you get over it?" I asked him. He shrugged. "Time. And finding someone who actually cares about who you are, not just what you can give them." Last night, I had dinner with a woman named Audrey. She owns a small bakery that supplies bread to several local restaurants. I met her when she was delivering an order to my friend Gus's place. She showed up in jeans and a simple sweater, asked me about my work, and actually listened to the answers. She insisted on splitting the bill. After dinner, she offered to show me her bakery's kitchen. Not as a pretext. She genuinely wanted to show me the old dough mixer she had restored herself. Standing there, at 11 p.m., watching her talk passionately about sourdough starter, I realized something. I would 1,000 times rather be with someone who gets excited about creating things than with someone who only gets excited about buying things. I don't know if anything will happen with Audrey, but for the first time in years, I'm not measuring my worth by what I can provide for others. My phone still lights up with desperate messages from Morgan, now offering me things she used to refuse if I'll take her back. And every message just convinces me further that I made the right decision. Some men never manage to break free from the golden handcuffs of a relationship with someone who sees them as a walking ATM with a pulse. I got lucky. I got to see behind the curtain in the most public and painful way possible. And as awful as it was, it probably saved me years of my life. The most satisfying part? I've started donating to a financial literacy program that helps people recognize and escape financially unhealthy relationships. The program director nearly fell out of her chair when I told her my story. She asked if I would be willing to speak at their next workshop. I don't know if I'm ready for that yet, but maybe one day my experience can help someone else see the red flags I ignored. Last week, I ran into Trey, Morgan's old CrossFit coach, at a hardware store. He approached me cautiously, as if he was afraid I might get angry. "Just wanted you to know something," he said. "She tried the same number on me after you left. Came to the gym crying. Said she needed a place to stay. Offered. Well, you know." I shut that down immediately. I nodded, appreciating his honesty. Smart man. "And she wasn't just in an inappropriate relationship with Brendan," he added. "There were at least 2 other guys I know of. She used to bring them to my 6 a.m. class when she thought no one who knew you would be there." Strangely, that information didn't hurt. If anything, it was like the final confirmation that I'd made the right call. The last pieces of the puzzle clicking into place. "Thanks for telling me," I said, genuinely grateful. "For what it's worth," Trey said as we parted ways, "you look happier now." "I don't know, more you." He was right. I'm standing up straighter these days, and I'm sleeping better, too. As for Morgan, I heard through Heather that she finally left Denver and moved back to her hometown in Arizona. She got a job at her uncle's insurance company. Apparently, she's telling everyone there that she left Denver because her ex was difficult. Same old Morgan, rewriting history to cast herself as the victim. But here's the thing about small towns. Reputations follow you. And according to Heather, it didn't take long for people to see through her act, the constant need for validation, the materialistic demands, the manipulative techniques. When you run the same playbook your whole life, it becomes obvious to anyone paying a little attention. Audrey and I are taking things slow. She's nothing like Morgan. She builds things instead of consuming them. She gets excited about creating value instead of extracting it from others. The other night, she helped me install cabinets in my own kitchen renovation project. She was covered in sawdust and laughing the whole time. Not once did she complain about ruining her manicure. I'll admit, I still have trust issues. I still flinch a little when Audrey reaches for her wallet at a restaurant. I still sometimes catch myself wondering if there's an angle I'm not seeing. But I'm working on it. I'm building something healthy, brick by brick, just like I build my projects. With a solid foundation this time. So, if you're reading this and you see your own relationship in my story, all I can say is this. Self-respect is non-negotiable. And trust me, leaving the wrong person makes room for the right one. The best revenge isn't making them suffer. It's living so well that they finally realize exactly what they lost. If you like the stories, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.